During World War II, one German city was bombed every 7 minutes for 2 days straight. That's a full-blown apocalypse. And if you're thinking the US would be the safest place during World War III, think again. It's more likely to be a target than a refuge. So, where on earth can possibly be safe? We looked at real-world factors, political neutrality, geography, alliances, military deterrence, and food or energy independence. And here are the 10 unexpected countries that give you the best shot at making it out alive. Iceland. If World War III erupts, you want a place that's not just peaceful, but practically invisible on the global chessboard. Iceland fits that bill perfectly. Yes, it's a NATO member, and that might raise red flags. But unlike other NATO countries, Iceland has no standing army, no history of provocation, and no major strategic value. During World War II, it was so neutral that both Allied and Axis powers hesitated, until Britain gently occupied it in 1940 just to keep it out of Nazi hands. Even then, not a single shot was fired. It consistently ranks number 1 on the Global Peace Index for a reason: low crime, zero involvement in international conflicts, and a population that generally avoids foreign entanglements. Geographically, Iceland is far removed from major power centres, no borders to defend, no nearby enemies, and with an energy grid powered entirely by domestic geothermal and hydroelectric sources, it doesn't rely on global fuel shipments to survive. Add in abundant fresh water and marine food supply, and Iceland becomes more than just a safe haven, it's a self-sustaining one. Somehow, Iceland always stays out of trouble, and that's exactly the point. Next up, how about an actual country that has mastered the art of staying insanely neutral? Switzerland. When the World War begins, Switzerland won't raise a hand. It will quietly lock the door, seal the windows, and watch from a mountaintop. This alpine nation has turned neutrality into an art form. In fact, Switzerland is one of the few European countries that didn't send any aid to Ukraine during the conflict, which even got it accused of favouring Russia. So, maybe Putin wouldn't see it as a major enemy. This is a country that sat out both world wars, even while surrounded by Nazi Germany and fascist Italy, and somehow emerged unscathed. Plus, geographically, Switzerland is a fortress. Its mountainous, landlocked terrain is naturally defensive, and on top of that, it has over 300,000 bomb shelters ready to go. The country is also pretty self-sufficient, with a stable economy, top-notch food production, and substantial reserves to see itself through a world war. Even in times of peace, Switzerland is where countries send their secrets, their money, and their trust. In times of war, it's the ultimate safe haven. And the next country might just surprise you: Albania. At first glance, Albania might not seem like the most reasonable place to seek safety if World War III breaks out. In fact, during the Cold War, the US military had it marked for destruction. But here's the twist. That exact history is what strangely makes Albania a logical safe zone today. Why? One word: bunkers. When communist leader Enver Hoxha discovered Albania was a potential target, he launched a massive bunkerization program. Over 700,000 bunkers were built across the country. Hoxha was convinced that Albania would be invaded from all sides, whether by NATO, the Soviet Union, or even its neighbours. So he turned the entire nation into a concrete fortress. These bunkers weren't just for show, they were designed to withstand nuclear blasts. So if we're talking safety in the most practical, physical sense, Albania, with its over-preparation, all thanks to Hoxha's paranoia, might just be one of the more rational places to be. Now, let's see a country that offers more than just safety. It offers a full escape. Uruguay. Uruguay isn't a country that often comes up in global power games, and that's exactly why it deserves a spot on this list. Now, aside from being geographically distant from traditional conflict zones, it's positioned in the southern hemisphere, which offers a key advantage in the event of a nuclear conflict. Here's why. Fallout from northern hemisphere destinations takes longer to reach the south, and due to stratospheric circulation patterns, most of the smoke and soot would remain trapped in the north for months to years. That gives southern countries like Uruguay cleaner air, safer water, and a huge head start in surviving the aftermath. But distance isn't its only strength. Uruguay is politically neutral, free from major alliances that drag nations into war. What really makes Uruguay stand out is its food resilience. With a self-sufficiency rate of 232%, it can feed its population and then some, even if global trade collapses. So in a World War III scenario, you can find your way there and be assured of safety. Canada. Canada might be allied with the US, but that doesn't make it a frontline target. It shares military tech through NORAD, giving it access to advanced aerospace defenses. But unlike its southern neighbour, Canada doesn't provoke global powers, and it rarely leads international conflict. Its global image is that of a peacekeeper. I know picking Canada over the US might sound strange, especially with its infrastructure deficit somewhere between $150 billion to $1 trillion. But Canada is blessed. It's far from major Eurasian hotspots, surrounded by oceans and filled with vast, sparsely populated terrain. If war broke out, there are literally millions of square kilometers to disappear into. It also has a stable democracy, strong healthcare systems, and immense natural resources. From fresh water to timber to fuel, Canada can sustain itself for the long haul, even if global trade crumbles. Yes, it would still feel the ripple effects of conflict, but in a worst-case scenario, Canada is too big, too remote, and too neutral to be anyone's first target. Now, what about a country even more remote, on the literal edge of the world? Chile. Chile earns its spot on this list because it is rich enough to avoid disaster and distant enough that major superpowers are unlikely to view it as a priority target. Stretched thin down the southwestern edge of South America, Chile is like a natural bunker, protected by the Pacific Ocean on one side and the towering Andes on the other. Its extreme geography isn't just beautiful, it's strategic. Historically, global wars have barely touched this isolated land. During World War II, Chile remained neutral for most of the conflict and only declared war on Japan in 1945. More symbolic than strategic. The country also isn't part of aggressive military alliances, nor is it tangled in major geopolitical rivalries. In short, no one's looking to pick a fight with Chile. Politically, it's stable and one of the most developed South American countries with solid infrastructures. Its low profile on the world stage might just be its greatest advantage in a time of global warfare. You started this video wondering where to hide if World War III breaks out. Now you've got 6 solid options. Don't let that research go to waste. Please hit the subscribe button. Done that? Let's jump right back. Antarctica. Antarctica, being one of the safest countries to hide out, might seem like a crazy option. Because first, it's not even a country, doesn't have a government, and has no permanent population. But sometimes being useless in war makes you priceless in survival. Antarctica is governed by the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, signed by over 50 countries, including the US, Russia, and China. It bans military activity, nuclear testing, and territorial claims. In other words, no one's allowed to fight over it. And even if someone broke that rule, what would they attack? Ice? Surviving in Antarctica wouldn't be easy, of course. You'd need supplies, a scientific outpost, and real grit. But if your goal is to be as far away from destruction as possible, this frozen continent might just be the best bunker on Earth. Australia. Australia is an interesting one. It's not just a country, it's a whole continent, but all under one government, the Commonwealth of Australia. In fact, it also ranks as one of the most survivable places, likely to hold out for at least a decade after a nuclear event. Geographically, Australia is well outside the range of many missile threats. Even if it did get targeted, its sheer size means plenty of areas would be untouched. And with a population spread out across the vast land, casualties would be limited. Australia also has one of the world's biggest agricultural industries, capable of feeding 75 million people annually, almost 3 times its own population. When you now add in the country's resilience, self-sufficiency, and a decent enough military might, you've got a strong contender for safety in an apocalypse. The next is a country that's cold, prepared, and a bit controversial. Finland. Finland might have joined NATO in 2023, but don't confuse alliance with aggression. This is a country that has mastered the art of quiet resilience and knows how to survive chaos. Sandwiched next to Russia, Finland should be a risky bet, but history says otherwise. During World War II, it fought the Soviet Union to a standstill in sub-zero forests, with grit, strategy, and national unity. The same survivalist spirit still defines its defense strategy today. Finland has one of the world's best trained civilian populations, mandatory military service, and a total defense system that integrates everyday citizens into national readiness. In short, they don't panic, they prepare. Its terrain is unforgiving. Dense forests, thousands of lakes, harsh winters, all of which double as natural defense. Yes, NATO membership adds risk, but if you're going to ride out global conflict in a European country, Finland might just be the smartest place to be. Finally, a place that has withstood the trials of world wars and is now a safe haven. Argentina. When everything goes up in flames, Argentina might feel like the world's back door, far enough to stay quiet, close enough to survive. Stretching from lush jungles to the icy tip of Patagonia, Argentina offers remote landscapes, natural resources, and a population that's seen it all. Economic crashes, political swings, and global shifts. But when it comes to world wars, Argentina's track record is impressive. During World War I, it stayed neutral. In World War II, it held off joining the Allies until 1945, after the tide had already turned. That distance and caution worked, and the war barely touched its soil. Today, Argentina is rich in agriculture, fresh water, and space. And to top it all off, Argentina is ranked as one of the only 2 countries that will survive the eventuality of a nuclear war. That makes it your best bet on where to go for safety. Yes, we left out that country, your favorite pick. We'll probably get roasted in the comments, but we did the research so you don't have to. So instead of throwing tomatoes, throw us a sub. A lot more fascinating lists are coming soon. Thanks for watching.